We're back. That's right, Administration and Finance Committee. Hey, I know yesterday I said I was going to do the Parks and Rec one, but this one's like an hour, so I figured we'd just get it out of the way. It happened yesterday. And I think what I'm going to do from here on out is that we're not, if it's just people getting appointed, probably don't give a crap. And I'm just going to skip through the appointments. I'm going to skip through everybody introducing themselves as well. But let's just get into this one. This one, we got like $27 million of funds not previously appropriated to various city county funds. Another $8 million, and then approves an additional appropriation totaling $550,000 in a budget. So let's just get into it right now.
Award.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Up next is the big one. Proposal 164, 2025 appropriates $27,200,000. And who is presenting that?
Who's trying to fuck us?
You have the floor. And hold your questions till the end of the presentation, if you don't mind. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Abby Hansen, Controller and Director of the Office of Finance and Management. Before we get started, I want to thank this body for the collaboration that we've had over the last few months regarding this proposal. First, I want to give a global overview of the 2025 supplemental income tax amount. $77.7 million has been received, and that would be, that's the big number, and that is for all eligible units in the county. Those funds are then broken down into these different income tax buckets based on our 2023 income tax rates. The allocations in each bucket can be seen in the column here labeled allocation. And then to the furthest right hand is the amount that the city county is receiving for public safety income tax and certified shares.
This is from the local income tax.
So $18 million of that is going to is associated with the public safety income tax, which you do not see included in the fiscal. And that's because those funds will be appropriated at the end of the year to cover union contract increases that were intentionally not fully budgeted. Finally, the city county will receive $34.4 million in COIT funds or certified shares. The fiscal does not appropriate the full amount, and that's because our property tax projections have decreased by $7 million since we adopted the budget. This magnitude of change is unprecedented, but it is the result of two specific things.
Okay.
The assessed value decreased from our last budget estimate in July to what was finally certified by the state on August 7th. Like, it's just a timing problem there.
Hold on.
And then the other units of government increased the debt that they issued, which resulted in more circuit breaker losses to the city county than we were anticipating at that time.
Hey, didn't I say this was going to happen? I said last year, even when I was running for office, I said, I think that people's property taxes might be going down. Not everybody, but some people, because I think their assessed value is going to go down. Who knew that it was going to be $7 million less? Oh my God, this is the funniest thing ever.
So now to talk about the actual proposal. First slide, I would say, is kind of the boring one, the more administrative one. But so first, the Office of Finance and Management is requested $100,000 for to do a facilities assessment at Duval, the work release center. There is money in the 2025 budget for community corrections to address their maintenance needs, but the facility has had issues, and so this is the first step for us figuring out what our plan is long-term and the cost-benefit analysis on this facility versus something different. Next, the council needs an additional $300,000 for legal services. The Mayor's Office of Education and Innovation is receiving $600,000 for the fall semester of the Circle City Readers Program. This program is a high-dosage tutoring program that was a direct response to the low literacy rates in Marion County that were exacerbated by COVID. The data we have been able to collect shows that the intensive tutoring has allowed 40.5% of students who begin at the lowest proficiency level to move up at least one level by the end of the year.
That's a scam, by the way, the Circle City Readers.
And then this also funds an additional $2 million for the Elevation Grant Program. This money will be sent to the Indianapolis Foundation when we receive their round 3 report. A scope of work is received for our 2025 budgeted money, which is $3 million, and then this new $2 million appropriation, and they're up to date on all reporting per their contract. There's been a significant investment in our city's parks to ensure they continue.
So let me just show you this real quick. This was brought up like a week or so ago. $27 million into all the stuff is getting it. This was the most ridiculous, the $600,000 for Circle City Readers. I was like, what are we talking about here? This $2 million for the homeowner repair program? This is going to get ridiculous too. This was talked about in Indy Reporter, by the way.
To be a destination for families over the summer months. This allocates an additional $2 million that will allow parks to make further upgrades. So,
you know, it's really funny. There was that shooting at Riverside Park the other day. I think they're investing like $38 million into like making that, this is going to be a really great park until a certain quality of people show up and want to start shooting each other.
First, Parks had budgeted for landscaping in their 2025 budget, but the bid came back about double what we were expecting. And including this in the fiscal allows us to enter into the contract as planned without having to cut the sites that are being serviced or the level of service. This will allow for 60 courts across 28 parks to see improvements, and for facility and fixture upgrades at some of our parks, like HVAC replacements at the Garfield Park Conservatory, which is critical to keep the plants alive. And then finally, they will be able to deploy necessary amenities to allow for more picnic tables, benches, and trash cans. Okay, getting to the public works portion of this fiscal, there is an $8 million gas tax match from Senate Bill 283 that was passed in 2023 toward the DPW's capital improvement plan, which this body approved alongside the 2025 budget. This will allow us to continue to address road projects all around the city. Here on the bottom left, you see a picture of the new solid waste garage that's currently under construction. This $1.2 million will cover the final costs associated, and it is set to open by the end of this year.
And so remember, this money was originally approved back in like 2022, I think. And they didn't even put a shovel in the ground until last year. I don't know why it took them 2 years to figure out who was going to be building this whole thing. But then they had to put more money into it because of the cost of inflation.
And then as the Indigo Blue Line construction gets underway, there are significant stormwater needs along the route. DPW has committed to contributing $15 million over 3 years in order to address these needs at the same time. By using the spring supplemental, it allows us to honor those commitments and use this stormwater CIP money to address other needed projects around the city. Earlier this year, this body took the lead on updating our city's snow response policy, and since then, DPW has identified the following needs for implementation. First, they need to invest in additional trucks. These are smaller trucks, as pictured here on the slide, that will be able to plow snow on our connector streets, but also be used to fill potholes in the spring and summer months. And then second, we are...
I want to know where they're getting these trucks. We need to make sure that we keep an eye on which dealership is supplying them.
Are appropriating $2 million to cover possible contractor call-outs for November and December of 2025. Our intention is to earmark these funds for contractors until such a time as they're needed. The funds will lapse, the appropriation will lapse at the end of the year, and so we anticipate coming back before this body in early 2026 to reappropriate them and kind of just use them on this rolling cycle until we do need them for that residential call out. The Fatal Crash Review Team makes recommendations on safety improvements to intersections based on serious crashes in our city. And so we are investing $500,000 to address pedestrian safety concerns in multiple locations across the city. The Department of Public Works is working to design and price out projects and will bring a plan back to council soon on actually spending these funds. And then we additionally are setting aside $1 million for urban forestry preservation.
Well, you know what? At least I don't have to see the urban forest people at the council meetings anymore.
At this point in time, we do not have a solid plan on how those funds will be spent, but DPW will work collaboratively with the council to develop that.
Oh, that is so funny. Hey, you know, we promise we're going to eventually. Just stop your bitching.
And as a reminder, we do have to bring land purchases that exceed $25,000 purchase price back to the council. So there will be an opportunity to weigh in on this again.
I can't wait.
DMD is requesting $2 million for their homeowner repair program. The program is new for '25 and has been funded thus far with just federal dollars. Here are some photos of a successful repair they were able to make this year. The request came when a homeowner's furnace broke in the middle of winter and it was not able to heat a home that housed a 12, a 9, and a 2-year-old. Thanks to the program, they were able to get heat and design the ducts so that they were safely installed and prevent any harmful fumes from being released in the house.
So basically, thank you, taxpayers.
Because the program has been fully funded with federal dollars thus far, there have been some barriers, and it has made the projects harder to get quickly completed. This local investment will elevate and push the program forward. And then I think finally, this allocates $500,000 for the Cultural District program that came from a collaboration between the council and DMD. The program will provide an opportunity to DMD to grant funds to either existing cultural districts seeking to enhance their infrastructure, programming, or placemaking, and to emerging cultural districts that are seeking pilot projects or activations. And there are directors here in the audience to answer any questions you might have about programs, and I'm happy to answer any financial questions at this time.
Thank you. Thank you, Abby. Any questions, counselors? Counselor Boots.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Controller Hanson, for the presentation. Just to clarify, on the urban forestry preservation funds, even though it's going into the stormwater fund as part of DPW, that money is not tied to only stormwater mitigation, and it can be used for the, I guess, fee simple purchase of forest land that's not being treated as a mitigation step for stormwater control.
Yeah, I would agree with that because we're funding it with general income tax, that it's the most flexible pot of money.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Counselor Mallory.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I had a question on the $300,000 for legal services that we're looking at. The money, remind me how much we have tied up in it already for this. That's for the investigation, correct?
100,000.
I cannot specifically.
I want to say maybe 200,000, 150 or 200,000.
Ooh.
Chair, do you know?
I do not.
I'll defer to our staff to answer that question, but yes, we've already had one allocation, and this is the existing, this is the remainder of those funds, Counselor.
That original allocation, Councilmember, was 150,000.
150,000. Thank you, Greg. So this is an additional 300,000 on top of that 150, correct? So we're now looking at 450, almost $500,000 for this investigation. And maybe this is for council here, but is there any way we can get an actual update? Because last time we had a committee meeting, it was all just told that we can't have any update because they're currently conducting an investigation and it's ongoing, and they don't want to, compromise their investigation. I understand that. However, with the amount of money that we're pouring into this, and these are tax dollars that we're now putting into this, I feel like at least the counselors need to have like an executive session with this law firm. That way we can understand what our money's going towards. Is there an opportunity for us to do something like that?
So we can't have an executive session, but we do meet regularly, about once, just before any public meeting. The chair and I and 2 other committee members meet. I think it's Bain and Councilor Nielsen virtually to talk about what's going to be presented. The next meeting is going to be the end of the month, 28th, 29th, one of those days we haven't picked, and that'll be our final meeting. It will wrap up then.
Okay.
And at that point, you can ask any questions you have.
Okay. At this point, I have a little bit of a heartburn spending any more money on this, not knowing what our money's gone to so far, given that we have had no updates. So I hope that this next meeting, we can come to some kind of conclusion or some sort of update or understanding of what's going on, because as thus far, it seems as though it's all been kept in the dark and we don't really know what's going on. Even the most basic questions can't be answered. So,
true.
With that in mind, I hope that's something we can look forward into the future. Thank you.
Any other questions from counselors?
Andy Nielsen.
Councilor Nelson.
Thank you, Chairman Muscari. I just have a few comments, if you would allow. Just real quick, I'll be fast. I also just want to thank administration. I'm incredibly proud of the work that counselors have done to get to this fiscal package that recognizes the urgent need to enhance and improve basic services, address quality of life issues both in my district and across the city, and also ensuring that we are headed and continue to head down a road towards fiscal stability. As the controller emphasized, these are a lot of separate programs, but to put in context, we are putting another $8 million into residential roads. The homeowner repair program is important because that's tripling effectively the budget for that program. And as we as a council have said that we want to address housing issues broadly, one of the harder issues to address in that housing spectrum is homeowner repair. And we know that the housing that an individual is living in now is probably the most affordable to keep in order to keep them there.
Oh yeah, it probably doesn't help when you fucking print a bunch of money, make everything unaffordable.
This proposal also follows through on the commitment that this council made to embrace a Vision Zero mandate and ensure that by 2035 that we no longer have fatal crashes in our city.
You've got to be so fucking retarded to think that's even a possibility. And Andy Nielsen is the biggest, next to Carlos Perkins, Jesse's coming around finally. I'm sure now that I say that, something will happen, but Andy Nielsen is definitely one of the biggest dopes on that fucking city council to think that, oh, we're never going to have any more pedestrian deaths. What an absolute scam.
And it makes good on what is an essential basic service, and that is snow policy, right? It accepts the fact that the January response, we can be doing better, and the agreement that we made between the administration and this council to ensure that we're good this year, and next year we're going to do even better because that's why we were elected. This package today delivers on all of those things. And I think it's important to take a second to recognize that we are checking off the things that, again, we were elected to do, because with everything that's going on after this past session and headed out of Washington, D.C., we're headed into a period of a bit of fiscal uncertainty. And it's going to really require us to be honest to what our budget is and isn't, what we can fund and can't. In all of that uncertainty, it's going to compound over the next 3 years. So I think that's, I know it's a little bit wonky, but we are the Administration and Finance Committee, and we are going to be tasked with grappling with all of those things, not just this year, but in the next 3 budgets specifically are going to be particularly challenging. So I think for those of you here tonight in support of many of these programs,
well, maybe $1 million to urban forestry isn't exactly the best idea then.
We're able to fund those, and going forward, your engagement in this process is going to be very, very important, because the impact, again, from the State House and from D.C. in this moment is going to have an impact on our city. And so we're going to require all of us to really think critically about what the city should be funding, what the city can be funding, and how we're able to continue to reach our potential. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Well, if you're going to be smart with the taxpayers' money, maybe not spending $500,000 on the investigative committee is a good start. Also, $1 million on urban forestry is not a good idea, and this owner repair credit is absolutely ridiculous.
Thank you. Councilor Boots.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for a second opportunity. I just want to dovetail on Councilor Nielsen's comments and to make sure everyone really appreciates what's going on here.
There we go.
This spring fiscal is the first time in 6 years where this body has exerted its priorities on this spring money. This comes from the state. It's the county option income tax that is unassigned, unobligated. So the state hands us $34.4 million and says, go knock yourself out. For the past 6 years, or the 5 years I should say, that's typically been controlled by the administration. This is the first time in at least my 6-year tenure where the council has had input and asserted its priorities, and I must commend the administration and Chief Dan Parker and Controller Abigail Hansen in how collaborative and cooperative they worked to get this done.
And look, you're already doing a shitty job at it, wasting $3 million right off the bat.
This was not an easy. We started these discussions in August of last summer. That's how long it's taken to get here tonight. So this is a really, in my opinion, a monumental accomplishment by this council to have done this. And I think we could all be very proud. I have a lot to thank for Councilor Nielsen's efforts, Councilor Barth's efforts, who joined us in all these discussions. And again, these take hours and hours and months to get this done. So I think we can all be quite pleased that we've accomplished a very great thing. And I also owe thanks to our CFO, Candace Harris, Greg Stowers, Sarah Schromeyer, all who put in. This took an entire team months to get this done. So I just want to make sure that goes on the record that this was a heavy lift, and we're glad we're here tonight, and we hope, we believe this deserves the public support, and we hope you all agree. Thank you, sir.
What are you clapping for?
Councilor Hart.
Art, you better come with something, okay?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Boots. We do share a lot of similarities in those thoughts. We've been saying a lot of things similar for a long time. Although I will have to say on this one, this doesn't speak completely for the whole council, right? There are two caucuses, and so to at least speak on behalf of ours, where I can say that there is complete agreement is in everything that he said and having to have a position as a council versus a position of what the mayor's office is requesting, and this is a difference, and I certainly agree to that. Where we differ, there are similarities and there are differences of what we see. I mean, there's some really good things in this request from the mayor's office, and I want everybody to really take that point home, is that this is a request from the mayor's office to the fiscal body, which is the city council. The things like snow removal policy. We did a really good job this year working together where we had...
I can't wait to watch this fail. This is going to be so funny. It doesn't matter how much money you put into it. The leadership is crap.
Members from the Republican caucus doing a really good job adding addition and adding value to what that policy looks like. We got it down to 2 inches because of some of the members on our caucus. We've got closer to schools because of members of our caucus. We've been a champion of the Forest Alliance and Forest for Indy, and we are very happy to see dollars in this fiscal package as well, because we'll
shut the fuck up.
Continue to support
oh my God.
and great folks like everybody here.
No, that is the dumbest thing that I've heard him say so far.
And there's other things in here too, right? Like the Circle City Readers. We see value in that. However, when we
that's dumb too. All right, you're 0-2 right now, Hart. Get to it.
Start going down the line, and this is a lot of money. It's a really
maybe
good
1
package.
and 2.
And I will give credit to where credit's due. I mean, the mayor's office has done a great job, and I've been very transparent with them. And they've been very
fucking sucking his
transparent with me.
cock.
I've talked with the controller multiple times. I've talked with many members of the administration. So there's been no lack of communication, and I'll give them the credit there. But where this lacks for me and our caucus is that it is not directly connected to what people are telling me day in, day out in the street, on the grounds. And the one thing that they continuously ask me about is fill the potholes, always, always, and forever. And until we can get to that point, there are still things in this fiscal request that we are not prepared to do, that are above and beyond those basic functions that we were elected to do as city councilors. And that is number one, maintain the roads. We got to make sure water drains. We got to make sure trash is taken out. And as soon as we start going beyond that, we're not fulfilling our basic duties as city councilors, and we start to encroach in that in some of these requests.
That's literally what I've been saying forever now. For as long as this channel has been around, that's what I have been saying. You just need to follow the basics. Everything else will show up. Everything will be easy after that.
And so one of the things that we didn't have
He must be
is
watching
collaboration beforehand, before we got to this point in both of our caucuses. So one of the things that we will do, and we will provide more information soon on, is we are going to provide amendments to this at the full council, at least to show you what our constituents are asking of us and how we think that the tax dollars are best spent to make sure we are hitting those basic needs before we start going above and beyond. You know, we're not saying that anything in here is a bad idea, by no means.
I am.
But they're not hitting the basic needs that people ask us and tell us about every single day. And so, you know, while I am happy that we are actually in a position now where we're not just agreeing to what the mayor's office is asking for, we've got to tighten up a little bit farther and make sure that we're doing what the people are asking us to do, because we are here to represent them, and that's where we've got to get to in this fiscal, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any other questions, councilors? Councilor Gibson.
Are you just here to watch?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I appreciate.
Oh, Gibson! I already know what's gonna happen. Gibson's gonna swallow that Democrat dong right now. He's just gonna have all that jizz flow on him, and he's just gonna take it all in like a good and sweet little boy.
The opportunity to be here. I just want to speak in response to the minority leader in terms of potholes, and then, as we know,
He's gonna bitch that about the road funding formula. I can't wait. Is the whatever.
Our infrastructure problem is well over $1 billion, and we're nowhere near funding that need based on the current funding revenues that we have. Fortunately, the state legislature gave us additional funding source, but that's going to take a lot of work to get there to even start to make a dent. But that in itself is not going to make a dent. It's a real funding issue in terms of funding infrastructure.
Hey, you know what? We can't fix the fucking roads, but let's go spend a couple $1 million on something that overall will not benefit the people of Indianapolis.
Now, I do want to mention that DPW and ASME is doing a hell of a job of filling potholes, sir. And they're out there every day. And matter of fact, we get a weekly report from DPW talking about the thousands of potholes that have been filled. Now, do we have work to do? Yes, we do.
Yeah, what do? We all know what they do. They throw a little asphalt in there and just move on and wait for it to get crumbled up.
But I believe the city and the mayor's administration is doing a great job of trying to fill those potholes.
What'd I say?
And so I think this budget here tonight, this special funding for the $27 million really adds value. It really creates a whole nother set of opportunities for our residents. And so I'm glad to be here to support it, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much.
Thank you. No other question, Councilor Hart. Be brief. Go ahead.
Yeah, and we're not going to get there overnight, right? I mean, we're not going to come up with $1 billion overnight. We're going to get there piece by piece. You don't go on a grand destination vacation just overnight. You got to save up for that, right? And so same thing with the roads. We're not going to get there overnight. But at the same time, in good conscience, when I represent the east side of Indianapolis and we're asking for $500,000, or this other part of the caucus is asking, the other caucus in mayor's office is asking for $500,000 to support cultural districts that don't reflect any of the districts that we represent.
Hold on. I said, look at Nielsen. I'm going to roll it back real quick. Okay.
And I represent the east side of Indianapolis, and we're asking for $500,000, or this other part of the caucus is asking, the other caucus in mayor's office is asking for $500,000 to support
eat shit, Nielsen.
Cultural districts that don't reflect any of the districts that we represent. That's a problem, right? I have nothing against the program, but I, in good conscience, can't go back to the east side of Indianapolis and say, there's no money here for you because you don't have a culture district, right? That's, in your words, those aren't equitable means of distributions of dollars, where everybody is struggling with driving on these roads with blown out tires and those sorts of things. And it's not that we're going to solve it overnight, but there's a lot of ground we can cover with strip patching really quickly. And so I want to see us double that this year. And we've got the means to do it with this spring fiscal, and that's the business that we're talking about. Again, it's not that the things that we're doing aren't important or what are requested.
They're just not important right now.
We're not going to get there overnight. And so we have to get piece by piece closer and closer and use the tools to get there, Mr. Chair.
Here, Michael Paul Hart, I'm going to give you a freebie right now, and I expect you to use it. All you have to say, and all you have to do is tell them, is that there is a hierarchy of priorities, and the roads are number one. There should be nothing, our main focus should be onto roads. The cultural crap, the homeowner's credit, the reader crap, none of that matters overall for the people of Indianapolis. You think they're going to say, you think you're going to get a phone call and you're going to tell them, hey, well, you know what? We had to use that money for the Circle City readers. Hey, you know, we had to use that money for some culture bullshit. We had to use $1 million because the lipshits were losing their mind about their urban forestry. Hey, I know, Miss whoever, I know that you blew out 2 tires, bent your rims, bent your tie rods, and you had to get in a ligament, and it cost you a couple of $1,000. But listen, that Circle City reading program, that really took precedent. We had to put it at the top of the list. That's all you have to say, Michael Paul Hart. I'm giving you a freebie right now.
Chairman.
Thank you. I think you should express your opinion in DPW as committee meeting. Who do we have in public, from the public speak? Do you have a list?
Oh, wow.
Before we open the floor to public comment, we would like to remind the consideration or become
he cut his hair too.
Your board president.
Read the first 3 names and go ahead and line up.
Min Starro, Jordan Dillon, and Laura Afield.
Who's that fat bitch right there? Watts, Andrea Watts, I think.
Good evening, councilors. My name is Meg Storrow, and I'm the volunteer board president of the recently incorporated Mass Ave Cultural Arts District.
Oh, great.
We operate without paid staff and rely solely on dedicated volunteers. As one of Indianapolis's original designated cultural district, we play a vital role in the city's cultural life. I became chair of the Mass Ave Merchants Association in 2019 during the COVID-19 pandemic, when the city utilized our merchant association as a communication hub for mandated closures and pedestrian-only street policies. It became clear that we needed to establish a formal public interest charitable organization, which we all agreed needed to become the Mass Ave Cultural Arts District. Beyond merchants, in other words. With Riley Area Development Corporation shifting its focus elsewhere, our support system evaporated. We had no staffing, event planning, or bookkeeping. Now entering our 4th year as a standalone organization, we operate on a $70,000 annual budget, funds primarily generated through membership dues and private donations. These resources enable us to support our community through marketing, promotion, and events. The remainder funds are dedicated to maintaining our vibrant district, including upkeep of 52 flower beds along Mass Ave, which does not include the Indianapolis Cultural Trail, organizing community building events, supporting local artists, makers, musicians, and performers, and ensuring the integrity and maintenance of our public art installations. For example, when the lights went out at the Viewfinder sculpture due to vandalism, Mass Ave stepped in to restore the installation. We also work closely with IMPD to enhance safety and are often the primary contact for issues such as trash management or district-wide basement flooding, which shuts down our restaurants. In other words, supporting the district's livability behind the scenes. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
He's not
Good
married.
evening, councilors. My name is Jordan Dillon. I'm the executive director and sole staff member of the Broad Ripple Village Association. We are also one of Indianapolis's 7 designated cultural districts, and yet we operate entirely without any financial support from the city of Indianapolis.
Oh, no.
With an annual budget just over $200,000, BRVA produces events like the Broad Ripple Duck Race, operates the Broad Ripple Farmers Market, which welcomes over 120,000 visitors every year, and supports the SNAP program, of which many people outside of our district visit.
Okay.
We also provide year-round support to local businesses and
Well, it sounds like you're having more than enough money.
residents. Nearly 25% of our budget goes directly to beautification, landscaping, public art, and placemaking that make Broad Ripple a vibrant, livable neighborhood. This work is carried out by one staff member, supported by volunteers, contractors, and a deep commitment to our mission. As public projects like the Broad Ripple Avenue redesign unfold, needs like lighting and safety enhancements often fall outside the scope of city funding. BRVA has stepped in to fill those gaps. We're currently fundraising for lighting along the new Riverwalk because the neighborhood needs it and someone has to step up.
Oh,
Broad Ripple is often seen as a destination, but it's really a neighborhood for residents of Indianapolis because we are outside of the downtown core, Central Township. We primarily serve the people who live here and care about this place. In many ways, we're already doing the city's neighborhood level work, just without the city's support. But we're stretched to the limit. Without dedicated funding, we cannot continue this level of service. It's time to recognize organizations like BRVA, Fountain Fletcher, Mass Ave for what they are, which is grassroots extensions of the city delivering daily impact. If we value that work, we must support it. If Indianapolis wants to promote cultural districts, it must also define them, clear boundaries, evidence of self-sufficiency, and a dedicated staff member, and back them with meaningful ongoing investment. And we're not asking for charity, we're asking for an investment. Thank you.
This is why you're single. And by the way, I was over in Broad Ripple last Saturday, and there's a reason why that whole area is filled up with shit libs, because, or why all the shit libs over there are wanting all these illegals to be here, is because there's a bunch of slave labor Mexicans mowing their lawn. Go over there on a Saturday morning. You'll see all the Mexicans out there at like 8, 9 o'clock just mowing everybody's yards for these $500,000 to $1 million homes. And that whole area is blue.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Laura Giffel. I'm the current district manager for the Fountain Fletcher District, which proudly represents the cultural districts in both Fountain Square and Fletcher Place.
Also, both very blue. All right, I don't care about you. You're going to be annoying.
Federal poverty level.
Oh.
We provide these repairs
I can't do it.
at no cost so homeowners can age in place.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys. I can't do it.
165. Who's presenting that? Abby?
I'm up again. This one's
All right, you got the floor.
Everybody's leaving now. They all got to put in their thing. Nielsen didn't just leave, did he?
I'm going to go ahead and get started. This is pretty administrative in nature and requires us to approve additional grant dollars for grant projects that we have been awarded but didn't have sufficient budget for because we just didn't expect to be receiving them. So here's a table that summarizes the grants by department and character and their purpose.
They have like 20 minutes doing
OFM's
that.
grant is a federal grant from the Department of Transportation. The Sheriff's Office is a mix of 3 different grants. There's $500,000 from the opioid fund to cover Medicaid-assisted treatment. I think that's the right, it's Matt, I think that's the, how you say that, for drug treatment in the jail. $50,000 of a federal grant for a transport van investment, and then finally $224,500 for gun locks through the Drug-Free Marion County program.
Software to redact
The
audio
Office of
grant.
Public Health and Safety is receiving $780,000, and these are philanthropic funds we received to conduct our winter contingency program. We need to appropriate them.
What is this part? Streets to Home Initiative.
The fire department is a federal grant. It's reimbursement for our Task Force 1 deployments. The Department of Metropolitan Development is a $2.7 million for the Streets to Home Initiative, is being led by the Mayor's Leadership Council on Homelessness to rapidly house our unhoused neighbors into permanent housing alongside supportive services. This money is phase 1 of the initiative, and they're from the opioid fund.
Oh, okay.
The prosecutor's office is a federal grant, $100,000 for software to redact body-worn camera footage. And then finally, the election board received $55,000 in federal funding for security enhancements at the Election Services Center. Questions?
Thank you, Abby. Anyone from the council like to speak on this or have a question?
Go pretty quick. Actually, it should be going pretty quick. We only have we have less than 10 minutes
Councilor
left.
Gibson.
Well, thank you again, Mr. Chairman. I just
my
want to
great.
thank this body for considering this additional appropriation, primarily
What the fuck is Jesse doing there?
the funding for Streets to Home. I had that privilege of serving on the Mayor's Leadership Council for Homeless Prevention, and the committee is working very hard with major partners to come up with the first phase of that initiative, and this would help fund housing for about 350 individuals. So encourage your support tonight.
Thank you. Any other council? Councilor Nielsen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to piggyback on my colleague, Councilor Gibson, for his words on the Streets to Home initiative.
All right, now I hate it.
A lot in January as we think about what success in our city looks like, and I think providing housing to our most vulnerable neighbors is a very important metric that we should be using. So I want to thank the administration for putting some great thoughts into what this looks like, and similar to my comments on 164, as we're thinking about budgeting, and especially for this very vulnerable population and funding being both inconsistent, restricted in some uses, the opioid funding that's being used to fund this, while not a perpetual fund, is a long-term source of what is revenue for the city for several years to come. So I know that while we have to appropriate it on an annual basis, I hope we can continue to work together to at least make a commitment with that money to solve problems like homelessness, because we know that housing is the solution to solving homelessness. So I just want to recommit us to that work. I know how challenging it is. It's both a public health issue, the stuff that we see in our community, but it also has strategies that we can deploy in order to fix it. So I just want to thank the administration for their plans and look forward to working collaboratively to solve this issue in our city. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You know, when everybody says this whole housing first thing, that will never work, because you have all these degenerate people that do not give a shit of where they are at. This is just like renting a car. No one's actually going to care about the quality or what happens to the car if you're renting it. Same thing with a home. All right. So, by the way, Andy Nielsen lives in a 2,700 square foot home. He does not have children. He's married to his sister, basically. Looks like allegedly. A $250,000 home. Actually, it's estimated now at $359,000. His parcel shows $300,000. But it's a 27 square foot home. 2,700? Yeah, 2,700 square foot home. So he has plenty of room to put some of these bums in his own home, but he doesn't want to because he wants to feel safe at night. These people are hypocrites. They always will be.
Thank you. Any other questions, councilors? Anyone from public who can speak on this? So now entertain a motion.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Cut your mic off, Bud.
You have the floor.
Went up again.
Mr. Chairman, my name's Colin Hill.
I went up 15,000.
How about this? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name's Colin Hill, CIO for the City, County, and Director of ISA. We're here with our individual spring fiscal to discuss that. This is a fiscal request for an appropriation to our Character 3 of $550,000 from our ISA fund. Think of that as ISA's savings account that we have as an ongoing reverting revenue source that we only like to use on the rarest of occasions and what we think is of need or for infrastructure that we may need to support the city county as a whole from an IT perspective. This is, as the title said, this is moving PeopleSoft from currently in its on-prem status to Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, or OCI. The move is primarily based on two things. That would be cybersecurity resilience, and then also on operational benefits that we'll receive once we have migrated to OCI. That involves some of those benefits include reduced costs, removal of the old infrastructure that it's currently on. The biggest of those benefits would be improved cyber resilience, disaster recovery, more security for our PeopleSoft environment. And you may be wondering, what exactly is the PeopleSoft environment and why am I talking about this? Well, the PeopleSoft is our enterprise resource platform, or ERP. There are other softwares of the ilk, much like Workday, UKG, or PeopleSoft, and there's a couple other ones out there. The city county's been on this brand of PeopleSoft since, I believe, 2012, when we converted from the old mainframe systems, and they are currently housed in our data center over at IoT. And everything within our data center is in one hyper-converged infrastructure, and the idea here is that we're going to take PeopleSoft out and move it to the cloud so that it's in its own separate container. So in the event that something terrible happens to the city county's infrastructure from a data perspective, PeopleSoft will continue to run. PeopleSoft is what we use to pay our vendors, what we use to pay our staff, and it's how we keep track of many different things within the city county when it comes to back-end administrative systems. That being said, we're working through this process on finding a good partner. It's a modified RF qual process where we're seeking out people who are qualified, who have moved agencies or organizations that are large like ours, considering that we have over 7,500 employees or people inside the PeopleSoft system and more vendors than that. Right, it's important that we take and find the right partner that's going to take care of us and treat us how we need to be treated and have it secured the way that we want it to be secured in the new system. That being said, we are working through a cross-department collaboration between the Controller's Office, the Auditor's Office, the Treasurer's Office, Human Resources, and the Purchasing Department. Our goal is to have this actually migrated before open enrollment begins in October. That's a little bit of an aggressive goal, I understand. However, it's been something that I've been having discussions with the controller and other agencies and departments about for some time. The appetite internally is right for this move. We had a tabletop exercise probably a year and a half ago with members of several departments, including the mayor's office and other units within the city county, particularly the ones that are listed on this. And that tabletop exercise was like, hey, city county environment has been ransomware. You have no access to PeopleSoft. What do you do? And there were a lot of eyebrows raised in that conversation. This is one of those things that is central to how every department and agency does business, even if they have HR functions outside of city county HR. Everyone is paid through this system, so it's an impactful system, and having this have the tightest
like
security possible outside of the current environment in its own separate capsule or envelope, it seems to be the move to make for the city county at this time. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Councilor Carlino.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for bringing forward this fiscal. I think, and I won't belabor the points that you made, but as a sponsor, I think this decision to move addresses a lot of needs, has a lot of benefits, but security and functionality is definitely paramount. It's best practice. So I really appreciate the level of collaboration and the attention not only of the ISA team, but other agencies across the enterprise. And I urge my colleagues to support this as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And yes, Director Hill, again, like my colleague, Chairwoman Carlino, I don't want to belabor the point. You said it very well, but I just wanted to emphasize from my background in tech Nobody wants to spend all this money to migrate to the cloud. Nobody wants to upgrade their software systems, but I've been a consultant before who had to come in after a ransomware attack, or, we've looked at almost every major hospital in the state of Indiana. We've looked at IHA. These attacks are very real. They're happening frequently. What was the Secretary of State just hacked this week?
Yeah, I think it was just, I think it was hacked yesterday. I think the day that this happened, this morning, maybe it was this morning or yesterday.
So I think the amount of money, although I think all of us wish it was lower, I think it's a lot cheaper than the alternative. So I support this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Anyone from the audience would like to speak on this? Seeing none, I entertain a motion. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? None. Seeing no more business, go Pacers.
Well, that was easy enough. There was no fucking way that I was going to listen to all that testimony from all those shit libs bitching about, oh, the city's just not doing enough. Oh, we need more money. Well, do you want your taxes up? Listen, if you were able to raise $200,000 and you're the only staff on there, I think you're doing a pretty good job then. Have everybody else pitch in or kill the program. And it's really that easy. People need to stop being so reliant on the government. And Michael Paul Hart, as much as I don't like him, and you know what? He's got to be watching these videos. But there is a hierarchy on priorities, and taking care of the roads is number one. There's commerce, there's going to work, there's dropping off your children, there's going to school, there's all of these things. And Andy Nielsen is a fucking dope. I mogged him twice. One on the homeless, two on the Vision Zero. It's a total scam. He will get completely wrecked in a debate. This is why none of these people ever want to talk to me. With that, this will be going out here in a few minutes. So until next time.